Right now, Jesus is transforming lives in this church. Do you agree? Here, let me give you a description of what I'm talking about. We were described by somebody we all respect as becoming one of the most emotionally healthy churches in this county. Our Celebrate Recovery leader has never seen vulnerability like we have here. Is that true, Rich? Around every corner, people are putting in the hard work to restore marriages. I know that for a fact. To halt generational brokenness. I know that for a fact. To heal hurt, to recover from addiction, and to take great steps of faith. Our youth group has grown. Sat down with Lindsay when we had a handful of people, came up with strategies. We're now over 20. And not this last week, but the week before that, we had 6 youth make decisions for Jesus Christ. 6. And I'm watching as the relationships in our congregation are growing and trust is being built. Next slide. Right now, we have an abundance of every resource needed. Everything that we need in this church in order to take the next steps to capitalize on all of our potential. We have everything that we need. We have strong leaders in this church. We have energetic volunteers, some with tons of energy that are here all throughout the week working basically full-time hours. It's phenomenal. We have an incredible building. We have talent in this church. We have all the opportunity in this church. We have enormous creativity in this church. Next slide. We have every source that we need except for one. Finances. Even as God is blessing us, if we don't increase the giving between now and the local church conference, we will fall short of this year's budget by $30,000. May giving needs to be about that. This is just a heads up to you for the local church conference that I didn't want anybody to show up and be shocked. However, this is not the actual shocker. The shocker is not that we may fall behind by $30,000. The shocker is that it hasn't slowed down ministry or this church one bit. The shocker is that all of the stuff that I just told you that is being accomplished, all the stuff that God is doing in this church has happened with this $30,000 that we can make up before the end of the year. So I am not sounding an alarm. I'm just pointing us to an opportunity. In fact, the board has decided to keep next year's budget exactly the same because we believe in what God is doing in this church. I want to explain how tithing works. We have a lot of new folks and a lot of people growing in your faith, and one of the natural things that happens when we grow in our faith is that we want to contribute to the things that we believe in. Tithe is 10%. That's what tithe means. It means 10%. I've talked many times about how Abraham received a ton of wealth, and then to make sure that nobody thought that he earned that for himself, he gave a tithe. And that was the first example. We see actually in our text today that Jacob did the same thing. Jacob got a whole bunch of wealth, and just to make sure that everybody knew where it came from, he gave a tithe. So we have borrowed from that example, which is mimicked in the New Testament. The Acts church gives everything that they have to a big pool, and that's how they accomplish what they want. So we give tithe, that's what this is, and then the tithe goes into the church budget, which is a carefully planned vision. It is saying this is what God wants to do through our vision, and in order to make sure that the money just doesn't go here and here without any supervision or any accountability, we're going to plan that budget to make sure that it looks just like what God has given us as a vision. And there are multiple groups and teams and leaders who have their eyes on that to ensure that the tithe money goes to the ministry, which is the last thing. How does stuff get done? How do we buy the things that we need? How do we afford the things that are happening in this church? That's the process that we go through. What is tithing? Tithing is how we express our thankfulness to God and our commitment to His work. It is a biblical instruction. But it is also a way that we show, I believe in who we are. I believe in what God is doing through us. I am a part of this community in many more ways than just showing up on Sunday, than just coming to this event and coming to this event. I'm invested emotionally, I'm invested relationally, I'm invested spiritually, and I'm invested financially. And every great step that our church takes, I have that amount of investment in all of it because I and we believe in what God is doing through us. Is that true for you? Do you believe in what God is doing in our church right now? Honey, we're a part of something bigger than this marriage. We're a part of something bigger than this family. We're a part of something bigger than this house. Kids, we're a part of something bigger than this family. That's the kind of language that healthy families of faith speak to one another. We are not just securing the borders of our home. We are invested in things that matter. This is what I believe for us. We have the potential to wildly exceed every limitation. Already, when people from outside this church come in, they think, you guys are doing what it should take about 300 or more people to do. That's already what we're doing. We are just scratching the surface of what can be happening in this church. This is a season, there is a season of unthinkable wins in front of us. Here's the challenge that I came to in my mind. If I stand up in front of a congregation, I've got 3 groups of people. I have some who have been tithing faithfully for a long period of time. I have others who give some, but it's not necessarily a disciplined tithe yet. And I have others who haven't tithed or given. They're just kind of trying to test out this church thing. And if I come and I say, I would like to see us as a church tithe, how do you possibly just carve out 10% of your family's income? You can't do that, and I don't expect you to do that. So we have, and it's going to be passed out now, if the ushers can pass these out. Can we go to the next slide? It's called the 10 by 10 challenge. It says on your card, this tithe is how we express our thankfulness to God and commitment to His work. We believe in what God is doing in and through Community Wesleyan Church. We commit to the 10 by 10 challenge of 1% per month until we reach tithe in 10 months. So you as a family, you as a couple, you as a person, they're giving this only to families, but teens, kids, if you have a paper route, if you have a job, don't wait until you have an adult job to start doing this. These are disciplines that we need to begin early on to make sure that we know and that everybody else knows everything that I've been blessed with in my life, God gave it to me. That's the example of Abraham. Everything that I have, I'm not involved only in making sure I've got the nicest house and nicest car I can afford. My life is part of an investment to a big community movement. I'm a part of something that matters. And so to take little steps in order to get there, you don't need to find 10% overnight. 1% per month, that means that every month you sit down and you think, how can I find 1% more? 1% more. And here's the promise that your pastoral team's going to make to you. If you by faith will accept the 10 by 10 challenge, we by faith commit right now to stand up at the beginning of every month and tell you what new accomplishment we had over the last month. Every single month we're going to update you on the progress so that we as a church, we're all putting something on the line. And we want to see this church not just scratch the surface, not even just go deep and do something that's remarkable in our community, but do something that when people from outside this church look in, they say, the only way that happens in a community of people is if maybe there's a God. We want for divine-sized victories to come out of this 10 by 10 challenge.